if you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega power, yeah.
Hogan, we got it for you.
No!
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling, dealing.
Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
Welcome to Talk 'em in the Building, a pro wrestling podcast where we focus on the promo. I'm here joined by my compatriots, my compadres, my Lucha Libre homies, Adrian and Greg. Welcome, everybody, and welcome, guys. What a night. What a night to talk about La Lucha Libre, talk of the town, Penta, CERO MIEDO, or Penta now in WWE. And for any first-time listeners, thank you for joining us. You're in for a treat because, man, we're hyped about this promo. And if you don't know what Talking and Building is all about, we talk about the talkers, we hype the hype men, and we pontificate upon the promo. And this is the promo of the last 2 weeks, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe one of the great promos for me, personally, even though most of it wasn't even in English. It was actually in a different language, which was already impressive enough. But I won't get into it too much.
Para toda mi gente de México y toda Latinoamérica, les quiero decir gracias por ser parte del proceso. Gracias por acompañarme en mi camino para poder llegar aquí a la WWE.
Hell yeah.
Para los que saben y para los que no, se los voy a decir. Coming. Esto es el resultado de un mexicano cuando quiere salir adelante, señores. Gracias a mi familia que está aquí, los amo. Pero antes de irme quiero decir unas cosas. I know this is the new era, right? This is the WWE new era. So, this is not only the Netflix new era. Now is the Penta new era. Ayuno, why? Porque yo soy Penta, el CERO.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Wow. Simply wow. Well, I'm going to reserve my judgment because I think y'all know where I stand with this one. But Greg, I want to start off with you because like we've talked before, you know who Penta is, and maybe it's not like maybe that Lucha Underground stuff was kind of not something that you were super invested in, but talk about this impression that he makes on the audience, that he makes on the viewers at home, because he's talking at the camera. I mean, there's these beautiful close-ups on this guy.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot to this. First off, he was 100% presented as a star. I mean, from the moment he walked out, and not just having a squash match, having a 50-50 good match with Gable. They kind of showcase a little, just a taste. It gave you a small taste of what this man can do. But the fact that they handed him that microphone and let him go, and you talked about the new era. I'm going to jump around a little bit. He talked about the new era. That is a new era for WWE.
100%.
We've seen it some with Shinsuke, but now the fact that he talked a little English, he jumped into Spanish, and then he came back into English. But the cool thing about that promo is, like you said, most of it wasn't even in English. And those of us, there weren't subtitles. There wasn't that one that we just showed, but there weren't subtitles. But we knew whatever he was saying, he was passionate. And the people who knew what he was saying were into it. And you even hear Pat McAfee go, hell yeah. Like you just had that feeling like, I don't know what this dude's saying, but I'm with you, bro. Like I'm in. And he had the emotion, but there was also a genuineness that came across that said, I'm happy to be here. This is the big time. This is where I need to be, and I'm here to make my mark. and I was just like, I had chills by the time it was over. And again, I had no clue what he said. I didn't even know. And I'm like, I don't know what he said, but dude, I'm in 100%. I mean, a
Oh
star
my
was
gosh.
made through that entire presentation.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I love the fact that you mentioned the fact that he was presented as a star, right? Look, guys, we're a long way from the Mexicools. Can we agree on that?
Mm.
Um, presentations is everything, right? You can make anyone a star. And he was presented like that from the moment he comes out to the moment for me that he's given the respect to be given a mic, a live mic.
Mm.
Yep.
When English is not your first language, these are men that learned his brother, and him learned English much later in life. They were not teenagers, they were not kids. Take some big brass balls to get out there in the live crowd at the second Netflix show.
Yep.
How many things can go wrong? How many things might you misspeak and not get right? But that spirit is right there. And Adrian, I'm gonna come to you. Kind of, what are those kind of fast thoughts that you're thinking as you're seeing this promo? I know you know some Spanish, so you may have caught
I
a
was
few more
trying to
things.
keep up.
Right,
I was trying
right.
to keep up, man. It reminded me of working kitchens and guys going like this. And I'm like, okay, I remember that. Okay, I remember that. Like piecing it together. But one thing that's really cool about Netflix, and props to them, I just found this out. Live, if you had subtitles on, they were giving his promo in English, which was super cool because they're like 10 seconds ahead. So
okay.
yeah, so it's pretty cool. That's a cool aspect, and maybe moving forward, we got to put on your captions while you're watching. But man, like to echo you all sentiment, he came off as a big deal, and I'll say prior to him coming out, they hyped him as a big deal. The use of vignettes, building vignettes. It wasn't just one type of vignette. It was, okay, the first vignette that got us all excited was we saw the symbol, a simple zero, boom with the flames. Then the following week or 2 weeks later, you see an extension of that. You start to see the mask. And then finally, the next week or the first Netflix era Raw, they show the mask, to build out the mask, and it says Penta. So it's like now the anticipation is like, oh yeah, we're all for it. They gave us the pump fake of potentially having Ray and Penta tag against New Day.
Yeah.
Now hindsight being 2020, it was a perfect call not to have him go out last week. Him coming out this week, he got so much love. He would have gotten plenty of love in LA, but let's talk about it, fellas. It was such a focus on him and on his character and on why everyone should be a fan of this guy, that I think if they would have did it last week, we wouldn't have gotten that same moment. We wouldn't have gotten that flexibility on the time. So it's credit to them making that call.
It's Tony Gwynn, Mark McGuire. If you're old enough to know, you know, right? Mark McGuire was about to break the home run record, right? Tony Gwynn was about to get his 3,000 hit. It almost happened on the same night. Or one of the records happened on the same night. And Tony later hit his 3,000 hit on his own night. And I kind of liken it to that. You're right. It's like, it would have been a great moment, but because that Netflix episode was so loaded and so, glamorized, for lack of a better word, it would have gotten lost in the fold. It was a great moment. You don't get that kind of engagement, that kind of views, that kind of like singular isolation on this guy, that I'm very surprised as many people knew who he was. I mean, San Jose is San Jose, and might be more Latino, more Mexican, but still impressed.
Yeah.
By any means. You touch on a point that oftentimes we see in WWE, and not to bring up the old regime, but at some point we'll stop talking about it in context. How many times has a promo or has a wrestler been teased through promos and the payoff never happens, or the payoff is a joke, right? Can't think of too many off the top of my head lately, but more so promos that just didn't lead to anything because they never debuted the guy or they never had ideas for him. And here's a case where, like you said, they teased it and everybody knew. I mean,
Right,
he says it in the beginning. He says it's the worst kept secret in pro wrestling.
Right.
But it still was. It was fabulous. It was these little teases that you knew were going to lead somewhere because this leadership is not going to insult your intelligence.
Right.
So I'll tell you a little bit how I experienced it. So it's a very loaded kind of context. I am completely predisposed to like this guy. Was ready to root him on as soon as I knew his contract was over with AEW. I mean, for the love of God, I mean, I got all the trinkets. All right. I mean, look,
Nice.
I'm gonna finish the promo in a certain way right now. So, or the talk right now in a certain way. This guy's been through it all. He's wrestled the Indies in Mexico. He's wrestled AAA. He's wrestled everywhere. Been through countless name changes. Has wrestled with a cursed name. The whole CERO MIEDO thing is because when he was given the gimmick, it was a cursed gimmick. Everyone who took on the mantle of Pentagon Jr., now eventually, was getting hurt, it was just not the mantle. And he got it to the point where he said, he actually took it from a song, from a banda, and he said, I'm going to start doing CERO MIEDO because I have no fear for this supposed curse that this mask brings, right?
Nice.
And obviously became that. I liken it to like Naito coming to Mexico, and now you think about, he does the eye thing. It's rooted in racism ultimately, right? So these real bad situations, and you basically make a gimmick of it. He goes to Lucha Underground. His brother and him have a store in the States that they end up closing down, which is already a signal he's coming here. He has a set fan base, but you can fumble it. Definitely. And they hit it out of the park. They hit on all cylinders. And I was not expecting that. I was expecting him to be another member of the LWO, if I'm being real honest, right?
Yeah.
And the moment I saw them give him the mic and eventually speak in English without interruption, I thought, this is it. This is the first round, maybe right after Nakamura, that they might actually give this dude a chance. Now, would I love him to be champ? Sure, but the ceiling. Let's take it one step at a time, right?
Right.
What impressed me the most was this dissolving of what is pro wrestling, what is family, and what is that personal life. Because pro wrestlers are so guarded, luchadores are so guarded, but even that has kind of diminished over the years. These shots of the family.
Yeah.
Right? His daughters, his wife.
Tears.
If you look to the left, though, the young lady that he hugs at the end, and it's off camera, he hugs another man. Those are his co-investors. They ran his store in South Pasadena.
Wow.
And they were there, so they're like lock and step with everything that they do, business-wise and business decisions. So it was a real full circle moment, at least for me. Again, the audience will just take it as a real cool moment, but for me, I really experienced it as a real full circle moment as a dude that I've met over the years. I've had interactions with, just in so many variety of places. And to see this dude just be fearless out there, fun, pun fully intended, was a real sight to see. My question to you guys, as we're going through, is how do you maintain, and how do you maintain this level of excitement and investment? What do you do with the Penta going forward? Maybe Adrian, I'll come to you.
Okay, well, I would say on a foundational piece when it comes to Penta, you gotta go for the layups. And one of the layups in pro wrestling is marketing. His mask is amazing. His mask looks beautiful. They did such a great job putting that out on shop before he's even debuted. The shirts are already out. We're making you, the consumer, think this guy is the biggest deal, the biggest import of this new era. You need to get this mask. Okay, I want to go. After seeing that match, I go to order the mask. It's sold out. They have to capitalize and to build on this person at the most foundational piece, marketing, get those masks out, have a budget where I'm giving away 50 of those Pentagon masks, especially if you're on the floor. If you got floor seats, you're getting a Pentagon mask. You're going to be wearing this damn mask because we're going to get him over, and we're going to make sure people just get behind this character. One thing I do like, and I'll pass the mic after this, during that match, they teased the finger, the CERO MIEDO spot that he always did, right?
Yeah.
And part of the reason was because a good amount of those that are hardcore fans, they understood it. They knew what to say, but we didn't hear as many of those people chanting it.
Right.
So they're working on getting that over. Between the mask and the chant for WWE and the WWE fan base, you get those two things over, and that's gasoline. We can figure out the rest.
Yep.
We can absolutely figure out the rest, at least until his brother comes.
Mm-hmm.
It's built-in character, built-in marketing, right? Greg, what do you think about that? What do you think about Adrian's kind of like lead-in and foundation for what's going to make him successful?
I think one thing when they put out on Instagram or social media, the fact that you could go ahead and order his shirts in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah.
He hasn't debuted.
Right.
I don't think they've done that for anybody
I
ever.
can't name anyone. No.
Now they come out, that night they got a shirt and boom, it's on. It's on WWE shop by the time the match is over. But I can't ever remember them doing that. And even in go back to the Netflix premiere, if you watch the press conference afterwards, even Triple H goes, I think we all know who that's going to be.
Right.
I mean, there's an acknowledgement from Triple H.
Yeah.
There's also, and I don't remember this happening, if you look at post match social media, there's the finger point with Triple H.
Oh,
that's usually reserved.
And he does
yeah, that's usually reserved for titles, not just somebody debuting. So I mean, he's getting rubbed from everywhere, and I'm like, and I agree with what you said, Adelaide. Had he debuted the week before, lost in the shuffle. What did everybody come out of this one remembering? Him.
Yeah.
Episode 2. If you go through anything else that happened on that whole episode, and there was some good stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about Pentagon.
For sure.
He's the thumbnail for when this gets archived.
But the next part of it, you
Absolutely.
kind of ask, what do you
Absolutely.
do next? He got a nice win on Gable, but Gable has a stable that there could be a program happening there that even sets it up so when Phoenix comes in, he needs backup, and here's Phoenix and here's Ray. So he needs that rub from Ray a little bit, but I think the things that we're going to learn is that Grand Metalik, Sin Cara, they've tried their best to come up with who's our next luchador. They've tried, and it's failed over and over for whatever reasons, multiple reasons, right? Not all, I truly believe it's not all on WWE creative. Some of it is, some of it's the personality of behind the mask, but I think they've learned from that, and they have a different generational talent this time, and somebody who they said, you know what, go for it, roll with it. And from what I heard and read, he went long, and nobody cared.
Wow,
And
that's crazy.
yeah, and now there's also the Netflix era, so they're not restricted by a time frame like they were before. But
Hell,
I'm
they
just
ended
like,
30 minutes before.
yeah,
Right. That was so
After
weird.
that main event, I was like, okay, what else y'all got? And then it ended.
they're like, we're out.
What?
Triple H, Lee Fitting, whatever the hell it says. Yeah.
It's like y'all simmer on that Pentagon. Go to YouTube and rewatch that.
Exactly.
Yep.
Gosh.
I mean, it's just so cool to see them do it different.
Yeah.
And for somebody who, let's call it what it is, we know him, and the hardcores know him.
Yeah.
And yes, he was in AEW, and yes, he was in Lucha Underground, and yes, he's been in TNA, and they acknowledge that. But there's the fact that he's not been mainstream, right? He wasn't huge, And he wasn't even presented as a huge star in his previous company. He wasn't presented as a main person, think Jade Cargill or Cody, who were at this certain level that when they came over, there was big fanfare.
Right.
They made more fanfare over him, and talked about hot free agent and all that kind of stuff. But he wasn't huge over there, so I think that's also them saying, you know what, we got something here.
Such a missed
We
opportunity.
got a diamond
man.
in the rough. And my thing is, and I'm not even speaking bad. I don't want to speak ill will about how they used him elsewhere. It's just the fact that they've gotten behind him that said we have a potential super next level star.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. When Jay kind of came over, it was a hot free agent, and they kind of hyped it, and then you kind of had all the whole, oh, is Cody coming? Is Cody not coming? Huge, right? Because he was big over there. And this, and again, not a knock on AEW by any stretch. AEW had the Lucha Brothers, and they did what they did, but this is something different to me, where WWE didn't take somebody who was already a star. It's almost going back in the day when the previous regime, go back into the 80s, took those stars from other places that weren't as big and made them bigger.
That's right. That's right.
A Coco, a Jake, a Mr. Perfect. Yes, they were big stars, but they changed them and they built them up, and boom, these vignettes, and people were ready for it. And this was just cool to me. I mean, and then he delivered. At the end of the day, no matter what creative does, here's the ball. What you gonna do with it? And he delivered.
How insane was it? The mention of him being a Lucha Underground champion
blew my mind.
Dude.
Blew my little brain, man.
I popped for that because both of us, I mean, Ali and myself, we were all in on Lucha Underground. Like that was a moment in pro wrestling,
brother.
For me, man, that was a moment, bro.
I took kids on a field trip to that show, and let's just say, I couldn't have him shake his hand coming through the tunnel because he was so bloody from one of the matches, dude.
Wow, yeah.
It was great, and it was that dude. That dude's a marketing genius, right?
Yeah.
But to Greg's point, I wonder how much of a silver lining is Phoenix not being able to get out of his contract, because you knew they would debut him together.
Oh, right? Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Given you're on, we signed you up. Let's go, buddy. And the last thing I thought he was going to do was get a hot mic, right? Get a live mic, I should say. And I didn't know that. I know he had it in them. I mean, obviously you have to have some level of English to communicate in the ring, and obviously, wrestling, there is some common language there, but still, it's, you mentioned, a Caristic or a Gran Metalik. What is the underlining principle there is none of those had American TV time, right? And as as not as a huge star as he might have been, he definitely had more airtime through Lucha Underground, through TNA, through AEW more recently, but he was still seen as a tag guy, right? Even AEW would throw a bone and put him in a singles match every now and again, but he was still the tag guy because those singles matches happened because either his brother was hurt or they just didn't know where to go with him. And by the way, no shade. I mean, good for my man over here to have a job at the speaker dude. What's his name? The talking piece. That was so bad. The man that they had speaking for him, or the hype man in EW, that was such a disservice to him because it didn't fit the gimmick. I mean, here's this killer. I mean, for me, he's the Mexican Undertaker. Let's be real. And you're pairing him with some dude that is like hype. I don't know. That just never made sense.
Awkward. It was super awkward.
Yeah, it's like present him as a badass, and that's what he was here. I mean, they showed his family, but man, I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see if they give him a shot, and I'm dying to see this match, though. I'll tell you this much: Pentagon Gunter, solely because I saw one interview that they asked Gunter who was the hardest chopper you ever faced, and he said,
"I can see that. Yeah, I can see that."
It's like Pentagon chopped me once, and I was bleeding, and I said, "What the hell?" So that's going to be one to definitely look out for in the future.
And Penta's kicks are some of the loudest the loudest I've ever seen, because he used
Ain't
to wrestle for Lucha Atlanta.
Oh,
And
okay.
his kicks, they sound like thunderbolts, man. Like wow, wow. He's slapping the hell out of his thigh, but it's loud, bro. It's loud. It's loud.
Oh my!
I'm happy for him, man. I'm happy for him. And I mean, you know, I don't think us critiquing how the Lucha Brothers were handled at AEW is more so like hate or anything. Like, I know that's the easy retort. I think it's actual critique. Like, it was a huge missed opportunity. They had their moments. I know that cage match with the Bucks.
It's a great match.
That was a top level. That will go down as one of that company's best matches ever. Even going back to when Pentagon faced Kenny Omega in the first All In. That was an amazing moment.
Great match.
That was an amazing moment. But after that, it didn't go anywhere. And it was such a missed opportunity. And I do hate it for AEW that now they had this past Monday to watch and see, this is how you make a star. This is how you promote a Pentagon.
And to your point, could AEW have ever risen to that level? No. It's unwarranted, right? And they have a platform. They have an international audience now. I mean, they're on Max, but Netflix that's a game changer, man.
That's true.
And the fact that an international audience is now gonna, and his acknowledgement, he doesn't say just Mexicans in the promo. He says Latino Americanos, Latin Americans all over the world, right? Dude, you have who's it? Bad Bunny saying there's going to be a pay-per-view in Mexico, and they have to shoot that.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah,
I was like, bro, you know something. I don't want to seem like you don't know something, but I could talk for days. I mean, I have stories to tell, but you know, this was hopefully more to come, not necessarily just from Pentagon, from everyone else, from Kairi Sane, from Io Sky, from Nakamura. I'm thinking like all those folks that probably English isn't their strongest language and not going to communicate perfectly in it, but if they can dip into, you know, their home language or their native language and still speak with that passion, because how many times do we talk about the promo being, I might not fully feel like where you're going with it, but there's some passion there, right?
Definitely.
There's some direction, there's some believability right there. And all of this just breathe that in, just like he was just speaking so much from the heart, because everything he said about this is a Mexican, when a Mexican wants to get on top or when a Mexican wants to get ahead, I think that was something like to that effect. This is what he does. And this is like the fruits of all that hard work, all that labor. And can't wait for Phoenix to come in. But any last thoughts for this promo, guys, or for Pentagon himself, or Penta, I should say? We'll get used to it.
I got one more thing. So the one thing, just looking at the art of the promo in general, we know what the art of the promo is. It's to elicit emotion, is to bring out, to talk you into the building, right? To talk you into the PLE, to talk you into the Netflix subscription, whatever it may be. And the challenge, and I think if you go back to some of those masked wrestlers in the past that they've tried, the difference with you go back into old school masked wrestlers, Mr. Wrestling #2, the Patriot, those guys, not necessarily luchadors, right? But they were able to elicit emotion through their mask. Mankind, same thing. Kane, the same thing. That's a special performer that can put emotion through the mask. Mysterio, next level. Penta has that. And in that promo, you had that. But in addition to the promo about how we came out talking about him, the missing pieces about that, and they didn't acknowledge this at first, they acknowledged it later, about the tears of the girls, of his family. And I mean tears, like almost bawling type tears in the beginning and in the end. And that's part of this promo. Because through that whole production, and I say that production from the fact he started talking or to the fact he came out to the end of it, he got over, Gable got over, the company got over. And what did that do? and we're gonna call it what it is. Now we're gonna go down. I'm gonna go down a certain path. He just said, and his family just said, we made it. We're in the big time. We're at a next level. We're at a level we never even thought. We just came from somewhere else that thinks they're competition. No, we out here bawling, crying, and there's others out there just so excited that this dude has made it. It's one night, and he just separated himself away from everything he's ever done, and it's like, wow. And I'm here along with the ride. Like it made me proud to be a WWE fan, to be honest with you. And I'm a fan of others before people start throwing comments and shade and all that kind of stuff too, right? But it made me proud to be a fan of WWE because he was proud to be there. And it like sucks me in to say, man, this is what you know what? Next week I'm making sure I'm watching this because of him.
It talked you back in the building.
Hey. Well, gentlemen.
Nice.
All right, I'm gonna close up tonight. So, y'all at home, listen to this on your phone, listen to this on your car, listen to this on your TV, probably, as I know some of you are. Thank you for joining us on this ride. This is Talk 'em in the building, and if you're on audio, I'm wearing my Lucha Libre mask, my Pentagon Junior mask, my Penta mask, and we're really excited to have you on. All right, like, comment, subscribe. This is Talk 'em in the building. If you like more, check our back catalog, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.